Our second album review comes from the Swedish Masters of Melancholy, Katatonia. They're about to release their 11th album, believe it or not. I know. It's called City Burials, and it's out on April 24th on Peaceville Records. And as I mentioned, after the band's kind of last touring cycle in 2017, they actually went on hiatus. They said they kind of felt kind of burnt out, decided to take a break and assess whether Katatonia was something they still wanted to do. But the good news for us is that this hiatus has kind of relit that fire that the band once had, and they're back with a brand new album called City Burials. So Katatonia is a band that I've kind of really enjoyed, really loved listening to for mega years. I don't know about yourself, are you much of a Katatonia fan?
Yeah, so like weirdly about this one, once again, back in the old time frame of when we met and stuff, I remember getting Last Fair Deal Gone Down in 2001 because it was released when I was at college, which meant it was a new release, which meant I bought it. And it was in stark contrast to pretty much every CD I owned, which meant it got played loads. And then I kind of lost touch with them until we started doing rock and roll reviews, and then Dead End Kings came in, and I want to say I reviewed that one as well, and it got a thumping high score for me because I thought it was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And weirdly again, I have not heard the album that came out after. I never heard The Fall of Hearts. So I did not know that album even existed, and I didn't know they were still on the go until you got in touch to say, oh, by the way, we're doing City Burials, their new album. And I was like, let's find out how this sounds 6-7 years removed from the previous time that I heard them. So it turns out that they did go on hiatus, just not when I thought they did. So I mean, I'm happy to kick off with this one because I think that you've given me some information which I know you'll furnish our listeners with shortly. This is really fucking good. Like, surprise, surprise. Not what I was expecting was, again, maturity kind of with the band. Like, they sound more mature, more accomplished. It's not as dreamy as some, like, kind of darkly dreamy as some of their older stuff. And I felt, and the fact that you told me in our chat makes a lot of sense here. And that these songs feel very much like songs written for, and this will come out in a way which I don't want it to, but songs written for radio. Like songs written specifically for people who are listening to not kind of huge rocky songs or proggy songs or these long epic songs, even though some of the songs do extend to about the 5-minute mark. They're all very conventionally structured, but that doesn't take away from their interest. This is another album that uses good use of layers of sound that build up to build atmosphere. Vocally it is on fucking point from start to finish, and the detail you told me was what, Dave?
Yes, so the detail was that this album is actually, the vast majority of it anyway, has been written by the vocalist.
Which makes 100%. Like, if you told me that the Piss and Razor's new singles and new album was produced by a drummer, I would believe that, right? Because that's literally every Piss and Razor's album ever. So the drums are right in the front. But you can tell here that this has been, like, the emphasis on melody is front and foremost, but the emphasis on what a vocalist would do over a song is at the front of this. And as a result, any single song on this album could be a single easily.
Yep.
Like, it is an amazing collection of really well written songs that, like, I've listened to this one more than I've listened to Duel, interestingly enough. And we didn't get like a copy of this album, we got a stream of this. So their site has been taking an abnormal amount of hits from me. It's just played on loop. I find it completely engrossing. Like, I just lose my time when I'm listening to it. I think it's difficult to even just highlight one song as being great. Like, the whole album is just impeccably crafted. It's a brilliant fucking album.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there I go again.
100%.
100%. 130%. I did actually listen to the band's last album, The Fall of Hearts, and I thought it was a great album. But it was one that I didn't love on first listen, but kind of grew on me over time with repeated listens. And it was probably less intense than the one you were talking about, Dead End Kings. But the focal point on it was kind of more atmosphere and mood. But what I would say about The Fall of Hearts is it was probably one of Jonas's best vocal performances. Seems to get better just with every album they release. And then obviously with this one, Jonas has taken the reins on the writing of the music and the lyrics. I think the guitarist did have some input in kind of trying to direct him in the right way. He would send ideas over, he would then kind of critique them and stuff. But as I said, the vast majority of it was Jonas that put this stuff together. And I found that quite interesting because although this album still has kind of progressive moments and stuff, it's definitely less progressive than The Fall of Hearts. And overall, it's probably one of the most varied albums. The first 3 tracks, for instance, Heart Set to Divide, kind of ticks all the boxes as an opening track. Slow, kind of mysterious build-up, clean guitars, some nice strings and stuff in the background, and then eventually Jonas's kind of smooth tone comes in, and then it kind of climaxes into a kind of heavy progressive riff with double bass pedals. As I said, nicely layered up with lots of strings and kind of guitar leads and stuff that make the track sound huge. But it's probably the most progressive song on the album, and possibly I'd say the heaviest track on the album. That then leads into the 2 singles that the band have already released. Behind the Blood, which is less progressive than the first track in terms of kind of riffs and rhythms and stuff, but still has those kind of dark melodic qualities that Katatonia are kind of known for. But then it goes into Lacquer, the 3rd track in the album, which is completely stripped back compared to the 2 songs before. Almost has a bit of an anathema vibe to it.
Very much so, yeah.
And loads of electronics and stuff as well. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I know they've used bits of electronics before, but this was definitely a lot more prominent than before. But as you said though, the vocals are the selling point of this track and of the album. The melodies are stunning. And I didn't even mind that the tracks like Lacquer didn't have any heavy elements at all. Those first 3 tracks are all kind of different levels of intensity, but I think that's what that contrast really works on the album. And those kind of Lacquer type tracks, the kind of stripped back stuff, those are kind of scattered throughout City Burials. Vanisher's been another example of that, a very kind of minimalist approach where the band kind of aren't relying on kind of big riffs, but just kind of well crafted melodies that leave that kind of lasting impression. I found this album really immersive, and again it was one that, and kind of difference to the dual album, it took me kind of repeated listens to kind of fully kind of comprehend what Katatonia were trying to achieve with this release. But I think once you listen to it a few times, it completely clicks with you, and then you start to really appreciate how good the album is. A couple of my favourite tracks were The Winter of Our Passing, and Flicker was another one that I really enjoyed. They were kind of that perfect blend, the kind of dark riffs, really uplifting melodies, crisp production, and really kind of well put together lyrics as well. Again, not overly heavy tracks, but they leave you kind of feeling like you've kind of been on that journey with them. And I suppose that's how this album kind of felt to me, like a bit of a journey that's probably best listened to as a whole.
Yeah, definitely.
And I kind of felt when I got to the end of it, I kind of felt like that could possibly be one of Katatonia's best albums, if I'm honest. One other thing I thought was amazing on this album was the production. Production is absolutely flawless. It feels kind of massive when those kind of heavier parts kick in, but it's just as stunning when there's those kind of more kind of delicate moments on the album. It was mixed by Jakob Hansen, which I've read that the band have never worked with him before, but he's done a stellar job, absolute stellar job. I love this album from start to finish, and I imagine when it comes out, on kind of digital streaming stuff, I will play the fucking life out of this album. I'm going to say, I know this is our first podcast, Duncan, right? But this is a 5 for me.
It's a 5 for me. This is Like when I talk about albums that are perfect albums, that doesn't mean that it has the greatest musicianship in the world. It doesn't mean that, you know, it's the most challenging, demanding, or even the catchiest albums. A perfect album to me is an album where I can't imagine any part of it sounding better than it does. Nothing that I would change. And this is a flawless album from start to finish. It is a fully realised just musical journey that from start to finish has my attention from the very first time I listened to it to the multiple times I've listened to it now. It doesn't get much cleaner or better than this. So yeah, 5 for me.
Nice. 2 5s. So that's Katatonia. The brand new album comes out on April 24th. It's called City Burials. It's out on Peaceville Records. If you want to check out the band, you'll find them on Facebook, facebook.com/Katatonia. That's Katatonia with a K.
Mm-hmm. Not to be confused with the Welsh Britpop band.
Yes.